Hello everyone, I'm Megan. I'll be your guide today when we're going on our nature walk through Lemoyne's Point here. Just to start off, could I grab everyone's attention just to go over some safety protocols and any basic questions that anyone would have. So to start off, there's myself and my guide Jamie with me, and we will both be carrying sat phones just in case we get lost. A first aid kit, each person will be having one. And we will also have our own cell phones on us and an emergency response plan in progress in case anything does happen today, which it shouldn't though. Our closest locations are KGH for hospital, and we have 911 on speed dial, so if anything does happen, we are in a safe distance and a safe calling zone. So to start off, I just want to talk about everyone staying on the trails. There are major designated trails in this area, but there are some that may seem like trails, but in reality they aren't. They are deer trails, and there are specific signs up in the area to point out that they are deer trails, so let's make sure to stay off those trails and on the big main ones. Also, speaking of trails and deer, we are here to observe the animals in the wild habitats here, so we don't want to disturb the way they're acting or being. And of course, I know everyone here loves to enjoy snacks while on their trips. So, just to keep in mind, when you are snacking, watch if you're leaving any crumbs anywhere, and if you are, if you could please pick them up. And on top of that, wrapper-wise, make sure you have all your wrappers back in your bags or in disposable trash cans around the conservation area. And then on top of that, we don't want to feed the animals here, because if we feed the animals here, we're going to cause them to become habituated, which is not a good idea. Habituated animals are a safety hazard for not only ourselves, but the animals themselves. Imagine if we fed a bear constantly, and then eventually it got so confident with trusting people that it came to our cars and our picnic baskets to take our food. We do not want that happening, whether it's from a tiny little chipmunk all the way up to a bear. So if we could all just make sure not to feed the animals and pick up after ourselves, we can hopefully reduce that risk and carry on with our days, observing the animals in their natural habitat and natural acts. Now, I also want to cover that if we stay on these trails, we will also not be disturbing the environment here. And that's a key thing, because this is a conservation area, so we don't want to do any damage to what is here right now, because it is being safe and guarded, and we want to keep it that way. If we say go off the trail, make our own trails, other people may think that those are trails as well, and they aren't. It can just disturb the natural area around us. So let's make sure we stay on those trails, bringing it back to the deer trails. If we see any smaller trails, it could be a deer trail or it could be from someone else prior, and we just don't want to continue making those trails because it damages the wildlife's habitats as well as some of the plant species we have in the area. So let's make sure we stay on the trails. On top of that, I just want to make sure that when we are observing animals, that we aren't being loud and obnoxious and disturbing the animals, but also the people around us in the area. Because this is a conservation area, it's open to the whole public, and we can have a variety of different events going on here, as well as different groups coming here. So we could be walking past and experience a birding group, and they're all down, quiet, calm, observing this bird, and say we just walked past because we noticed that there was this really cool looking squirrel that darted across the pathway, and we are making big fuss out of it. That's rude to the other group, and it's going to disturb the animal that they're observing, and possibly the one that we're observing ourselves. So let's make sure to stay calm, quiet, collective about our thinking, and not freak out if we see a cool critter. And on top of that, if we have binoculars or cameras, we want to make sure that we are standing still when we're using them. One saying that I've always heard and I always use is don't walk in binoc. That can be a safety hazard for not only yourself but others around you if you're walking with binoculars up to your eyes and not paying attention, and you think something's farther than it is, but in reality it's right in front of you, and say you walk into a tree branch and it whipped back and hit the person behind you. We don't want that happening, so make sure that you're in a standing position and not moving when observing animals through your binoculars or cameras. Just one last thing, when we're on the path, there will be a guide at the front, which will be either myself or Jamie, and a guide at the back, which again will either be myself or Jamie. We may switch it up throughout the day. So if you have any questions, you can ask one of us at the front or the back, and we're going to stay in those positions just to make sure that nobody gets lost, or if anybody gets any concerns about others or observes something, we can just say, oh, hey, front of the group, stop. We noticed something back here, etc. So hopefully we can have a good day, and I hope you all have a good day as well. So this is the sign off. Let's go look for some critters.